Chapter 1. Brunch and Realizations. Bailey Shell stirred the last swirl of cream into her coffee, watching it bloom like a tiny galaxy before disappearing into the dark. The cafe was buzzing with the kind of energy only early January could bring. Fresh resolutions, gym memberships, and the faint smell of optimism mixed with cinnamon rolls. Her friends were already deep into their holiday recaps, voices overlapping like a cheerful orchestra. And then my dad insisted on making his famous eggnog, Jenna was saying, laughing as she waved her fork for emphasis. Except he forgot the nutmeg and doubled the rum. We were all tipsy before noon. Bailey smiled, but the mention of Dad tugged at something in her chest. She pushed the feeling down and reached for her mimosa. Across the table, Marcy chimed in, eyes bright. My dad got us matching pajamas again. It's like his thing now. He even made the dog wear them. The table erupted in laughter. Bailey laughed too, but it felt hollow, like an echo in an empty room. She hadn't seen her dad in, God, how long had it been? She tried to calculate, counting backward through birthdays and holidays. College, junior year, that lunch at the campus diner when he swung by before heading to Florida. She'd promised to keep in touch, and she had. Calls, texts, the occasional selfie exchange. But seeing him? That was a different story. Bailey. Jenna's voice cut through her thoughts. You okay? You've been quiet. Bailey blinked and forced a smile. Yeah, just thinking about how boring my holiday was compared to yours. No rum-soaked eggnog, no pajama parties. Just me, my mom, and her latest rant about the dating apocalypse. Marcy snorted. Still bad out there? Worse, Bailey said, rolling her eyes. She went on a date with a guy who brought his own Tupperware to the restaurant. For leftovers. Before they even ordered. The table groaned in unison. She's convinced all the good ones are gone, Bailey added, stabbing a piece of fruit with unnecessary force. And then, after a glass of wine, she whispers stuff like, your dad wouldn't have done that. Jenna tilted her head. She still talks about him? Only when she's tipsy, Bailey said. It's like regret sneaks in with the Merlot. The conversation drifted back to holiday stories, but Bailey's mind stayed stuck on that word, Dad. Every time someone said it, her chest tightened. She loved her father, really did. She tried to call him at least once a week, though sometimes life got in the way. Their conversations were lighthearted, sprinkled with corny jokes and weather updates. He never said much about his life in Florida, just that he was keeping busy. She never pressed. Maybe she should have. By the time brunch ended, Bailey felt like she'd been carrying a weight she couldn't name. Back home, she curled up on the couch with her phone, scrolling through photos, friends at ski lodges, family dinners, dogs in Santa hats. She opened her own gallery and frowned. Not a single recent picture of her dad. Just a few old shots. Her graduation, that campus lunch, a blurry selfie he'd sent last summer with the caption, still handsome, right? Her thumb hovered over the screen. When was the last time she saw him in person? She counted again. Junior year. That was 7 years ago. 7 years. The realization hit like a cold wave. She dropped the phone onto the couch and stared at the ceiling. This is ridiculous, she muttered. He's not on Mars. He's in Florida. And she could go to Florida. Her job was flexible, one of the perks of contract work. Deadlines mattered, but location didn't. She could work from anywhere with Wi-Fi. The thought bloomed fast, reckless and thrilling. Bailey sat up, grabbed her laptop, and opened a flight search. The cursor blinked like a dare. She typed Midwest to Tampa and hit enter. Prices popped up. Not bad. She clicked through dates, heart thudding. A month. She'd spend a month with her dad. Catch up. Make memories. Maybe take a few pictures so he wasn't just a voice on the phone. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. Don't forget girls' night next Friday. Bailey smiled faintly, then typed back. I might be out of town visiting my dad. The words felt good, right? She booked the flight before she could talk herself out of it. Confirmation email, January 10th. 10 days from now. She closed the laptop and leaned back, a grin tugging at her lips. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was doing something that mattered. Something that wasn't just work or errands or scrolling through other people's lives. She was going to see her dad. And maybe, just maybe, figure out why thinking about him made her chest ache in ways she didn't understand. Chapter 2. The flight south. Bailey's suitcase sat open on her bed like a gaping mouth, half filled with sundresses and sandals that hadn't seen daylight since last summer. She tossed in a pair of sunglasses, then hesitated, holding up a cardigan like it was a moral dilemma. Florida in January, she muttered. Cardigan or no cardigan? Her mom's voice echoed from the kitchen. Take 2. Weather's unpredictable. And don't forget sunscreen. You burn like a marshmallow. Bailey rolled her eyes but smiled. Thanks, Mom. Her mother appeared in the doorway, wine glass in hand, wearing that expression that hovered between curiosity and judgment. So, you're really going? Yep. Bailey zipped the suitcase with a flourish. Flights booked. 10 days from now. Her mom sipped her wine slowly. You haven't seen him in years. I know. Bailey tried to keep her tone light. That's kind of the point. Her mom's gaze softened, but only for a second. Tell him I said hi. Bailey almost laughed. Hi? After 7 years and a divorce that could have been a TED Talk on emotional minimalism? But she just nodded. Sure. The airport was a blur of rolling suitcases and overpriced coffee. Bailey clutched her boarding pass like it was a golden ticket, weaving through the crowd with the kind of determination usually reserved for marathon runners and people late for weddings. On the plane, she snagged a window seat and exhaled. The Midwest sprawled below in shades of gray and white, a frozen quilt stitched with highways. She popped in her earbuds, queued up a playlist, and let her thoughts wander. Childhood memories surfaced like Polaroids. Her dad teaching her to ride a bike, steady hands on the handlebars, fixing her first car, grease smudged on his cheek, standing in the driveway waving as she drove off to college, pride and sadness tangled in his smile. He'd always been solid, sturdy, the kind of man who didn't need to announce his strength because it was woven into everything he did. Quiet, never arrogant, a force that kept the world at bay. Bailey blinked hard, pushing back the sting in her eyes. She wondered what he was like now. Did he still tell those corny jokes? Did he still hum old rock songs while making pancakes? She hoped so. She needed that familiarity like oxygen. The plane dipped, and the gray quilt gave way to blue, sky melting into ocean. Florida stretched out below, sunlit and shimmering, like a postcard come to life. Bailey's pulse quickened. This was happening. She was really here. The terminal smelled faintly of sunscreen and pretzels. Bailey scanned the crowd, heart thudding. And then she saw him. Her dad stood near the baggage claim, wearing a Hawaiian shirt splashed with hibiscus flowers, khaki shorts, and flip-flops. His skin was tanned, his hair silver at the temples, and Bailey blinked. He looked good, like really good, healthy, fit. He could have passed for late 30s if you squinted. Bailey burst out laughing, startling a woman wrestling with a stroller. She jogged toward him, grinning like an idiot. Dad! She threw her arms around him, inhaling the familiar scent of aftershave and something new, salt air. Maybe. He hugged her tight, then pulled back, eyes crinkling. What's so funny? He asked, voice warm and amused. Bailey shook her head, still laughing. I just had no idea my old man was a silver fox. His cheeks flushed pink, and he grinned like a kid in a candy store. Silver fox, huh? I'll take it. You should, Bailey said, grabbing her suitcase. You look amazing. He puffed up playfully. Florida agrees with me. They headed for the exit, sunlight spilling through the glass doors like liquid gold. Bailey felt lighter than she had in months, maybe years. This was going to be good. Better than good. She had no idea just how much. Chapter 3. Reunion and Revelations. The drive from the airport felt like stepping into a different world. Palm trees lined the streets like green exclamation points, and the air smelled faintly of salt and sunscreen. Bailey rolled down the window, letting the breeze whip through her hair. Her dad glanced over, grinning. Not bad. Huh? He said, tapping the steering wheel to the beat of some classic rock song humming from the radio. Not bad. Bailey laughed. Dad, this is paradise compared to the frozen tundra I just left. He chuckled. You always did hate winter. Winter hates me, Bailey corrected. It's mutual. They pulled into a quiet neighborhood where pastel houses sat like Easter eggs along the street. Her dad's place was a cheerful yellow bungalow with a wraparound porch and a hammock swaying lazily in the breeze. Bailey stared, impressed. Wow, she said, stepping out of the car. This is adorable. And very you. Thanks, he said, grabbing her suitcase. Come on in. Guest rooms all set. Inside, the house was airy and bright, with hardwood floors and walls painted in soft blues and creams. It smelled faintly of lemon and something savory, maybe garlic. Bailey wandered through the living room, taking in the cozy furniture and the framed photos on the walls. Most were of sunsets, beaches, and smiling faces she didn't recognize. You've been busy, she said, trailing her fingers along a shelf lined with seashells. Florida'll do that to you, he said with a wink. You start collecting things. Bailey grinned. You used to collect tools. Still do, he said. There in the garage. Dinner was at a little Italian place on the corner of Main Street, the kind with twinkling lights strung across the ceiling and a menu that smelled like heaven. Bailey twirled her pasta, savoring the rich aroma of garlic and basil. So, she said, leaning back, catch me up. What's new in Dadland? He laughed, shaking his head. Not much to tell. I work, I dance, I eat too much gelato. Dance? Bailey raised an eyebrow. Like, line dancing? Ballroom, he said casually, as if that were a normal sentence. Bailey nearly choked on her wine. Ballroom? Dad, you can barely two-step. Shows what you know, he said, grinning. I've got moves now. Bailey stared, trying to picture her father in a tuxedo, gliding across a dance floor. The image was so absurd she burst out laughing. Okay, I need proof. You'll get it, he said, eyes twinkling. After dinner. Bailey narrowed her eyes. What does that mean? You'll see. They lingered over dessert, tiramisu for her, cannoli for him, talking about everything and nothing. Bailey told him about her work, her friends, her mom's dating disasters. He listened, nodding, occasionally tossing in a dad joke so bad it looped back to funny. When they stepped outside, the night air was warm and soft, carrying the distant sound of waves. Her dad led her down the street to a building with big windows and a sign that read, Coastal Rhythms Dance Studio. Bailey stopped dead. "You own a dance studio?" "Guilty," he said, pulling out a set of keys. "Come on." She followed him inside, blinking at the polished wood floors, the mirrored walls, the racks of glittering costumes. It was like stepping into a different universe. A glamorous, sequined universe where her dad apparently lived. "Dad," she said slowly, "what is happening?" He laughed, locking the door behind them. "Long story short, after the divorce I needed something. Something that wasn't just sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I tried golf, hated it, tried fishing, got bored. Then I stumbled into a dance class, and, well, here we are." Bailey walked to the center of the room, turning in a slow circle. "You own this place." "Yep. And you dance. Every day." Bailey shook her head, grinning. "I don't know whether to be impressed or terrified." "Be impressed," he said, offering a mock bow. "Your old man's got rhythm." Bailey laughed, but inside, something shifted. She'd expected him to be older, settled, maybe a little lonely. Instead, he was vibrant, alive, glowing in a way she hadn't seen before. It was like meeting a new person, and yet, the same person she'd always loved. She smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. This trip was going to be interesting. Very interesting. Chapter 4. The dance studio surprise. Bailey stood in the middle of the studio like someone who'd accidentally wandered onto a movie set. The polished wood gleamed under soft lights, and the mirrored walls reflected her stunned expression back at her from every angle. Sequined costumes hung on racks like glittering secrets, and a faint scent of floor polish mixed with something floral lingered in the air. Her dad tossed his keys onto the reception desk and grinned. "So, what do you think?" Bailey blinked. "I think I've entered an alternate universe where my father owns a dance studio and probably knows what a paso doble is." He laughed, the sound warm and easy. "I do, actually." Bailey threw her hands up. "Of course you do." He walked toward the stereo, flipping switches until soft Latin music filled the room. Bailey felt her jaw drop. "You're serious about this?" "Dead serious," he said, turning back to her with a mischievous glint in his eye. "Want to see?" Bailey narrowed her eyes. "See what?" "A little demo." He extended his hand like a gentleman in an old movie. "Come on." Bailey stared at his hand like it was a live grenade. "Dad, I can't dance." "Sure you can," he said, wiggling his fingers. "You've got my genes." "Your genes also gave me 2 left feet," Bailey muttered, but she placed her hand in his anyway. His grip was firm, reassuring, and before she could protest further, he pulled her gently into position. "Left foot forward," he instructed. "Right foot back. Easy." Bailey tried. She really did. But her left foot apparently had a vendetta against rhythm, and her right foot wasn't much better. Within seconds, she stumbled, yelped, and clung to his arm like a drowning sailor. "Okay," she gasped, laughing. "This is a disaster." He chuckled, steadying her. "You're not that bad." "I'm a human traffic accident," Bailey said, grinning despite herself. "How do you do this without breaking something?" "Practice," he said simply. "And good partners." Bailey snorted. "Well, you got half of that equation." He spun her, gently, mercifully, and she let out a startled laugh as her hair whipped around. For a brief moment, she felt light, almost graceful, until her heel caught on the floor and she lurched forward. "Whoa!" He caught her easily, strong arms wrapping around her before she could faceplant. Bailey clung to him, laughing so hard her stomach hurt. "Okay," she wheezed. "I'm officially retiring from dance." "Not a chance," he said, grinning. "You're a natural." "A natural disaster," Bailey corrected, still laughing. They collapsed onto a bench near the mirrored wall, Bailey fanning herself with a brochure for upcoming classes. Her dad leaned back, looking relaxed, and Bailey noticed, happy, really happy. It wasn't just the smile. It was in his posture, his eyes, the way he seemed to radiate ease. "So," Bailey said, catching her breath, "you really love this, huh?" He nodded. "Saved me, honestly." Bailey tilted her head. "Saved you?" He hesitated, then shrugged. "After the divorce, I didn't know who I was anymore. I'd spent 22 years being a husband, a provider. When that ended, I felt empty, like I'd lost my map." Bailey's chest tightened. She'd never heard him talk like this. "Dad." He smiled faintly. "Took a while, but I found this. Dancing. Friends who make me laugh. A life that feels like mine." Bailey swallowed hard, emotions tangling in her throat. She wanted to say something, anything, but the words felt too small, so she just nodded, squeezing his hand. "I'm proud of you," she said softly. His smile widened, and for a moment, Bailey felt like she was 10 years old again, safe in the orbit of his quiet strength. Later, as they locked up and stepped into the warm night, Bailey glanced back at the studio, its windows glowing like a secret. She couldn't shake the feeling that she just glimpsed a part of her father she'd never known, a part that made her wonder what else she didn't know, and why, when she thought of her mom, her heart suddenly felt heavy. Chapter 5. A picture worth 1,000 questions. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels soft and heavy after a long day. Bailey padded down the hallway in borrowed slippers, her hair damp from a quick shower, the faint scent of coconut shampoo trailing behind her. She'd left her dad in the living room, half asleep in his recliner with a baseball game murmuring on the TV. Felt good, safe, to see him so relaxed. She stopped at the guest bathroom, brushing her teeth and humming under her breath. When she stepped back into the hall, something caught her eye. A sliver of light spilling from her dad's bedroom door, left slightly ajar. Bailey hesitated, then glanced toward the living room. The TV was still on, but the recliner was empty. Curiosity tugged at her like a thread. She wasn't snooping. At least, that's what she told herself. But the glow from the room felt like an invitation she couldn't ignore. She edged closer, peeking through the gap. The first thing she saw was the nightstand, and on it, a picture frame. Bailey's breath caught. It was her mother. Not just her mother. Her mother smiling, younger, vibrant, the way Bailey remembered from childhood. Beside it was another photo. The three of them standing in front of Bailey's first car, her dad's arms slung around her shoulders, pride written all over his face. She remembered that day vividly. How he'd worked extra shifts to buy that car. How he'd handed her the keys like they were made of gold. Bailey stared, heart thudding. She hadn't expected this. After all these years, after the divorce, after everything. Why keep her mom's picture? Why keep both pictures? Questions swirled, sharp and insistent. Did he still love her? Did he regret the divorce? Did he ever move on? Bailey stepped back, guilt prickling her skin. She shouldn't be here. Later, after going to bed, she stepped out to get a drink when she heard her dad's muffled voice. She froze her in place. A low voice, calm and steady, drifting through the crack in the door. Her dad's voice. Bailey held her breath. Had a great day, he was saying softly. She's grown so much. You'd be proud. Bailey's pulse roared in her ears. He was talking to the picture. Talking like her mom was still there. I don't know how much longer I can wait for you, he continued, voice breaking just slightly. Just give me a sign that our forever isn't over. I miss you. Bailey's throat tightened. She heard him kiss the photo, gentle, reverent, and then whisper the pet name he used to call her mom, the one Bailey hadn't heard in years. The light clicked off, and silence settled like a blanket. Bailey crept back to her room, closing the door with trembling hands. Her heart pounded so hard it felt like it might crack her ribs. Her father still loved her mother. And her mother, Bailey thought of those wine-soaked whispers, those quiet regrets. Maybe she still loved him too. But they were both too stubborn, too proud, too something to admit it. Bailey sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the dark window, her mind spinning. She'd come here to reconnect with her dad. She hadn't expected to stumble into a love story that wasn't finished. And now, she wasn't sure what to do with that knowledge. Chapter 6. Bailey's Dilemma. Bailey woke up the next morning with a knot in her stomach and a head full of questions. Sunlight streamed through the gauzy curtains, painting the room in soft gold, but it did nothing to untangle the mess in her mind. Her dad still loved her mom. Her mom, if those late-night wine confessions meant anything, might still love him too. Bailey sat cross-legged on the bed, staring at her phone like it held the answers. Should she call her mom? Text her? Pretend she didn't overhear a heart-wrenching monologue to a photograph? She groaned and flopped backward, burying her face in the pillow. Why is my life suddenly a Hallmark movie? By mid-morning, Bailey decided distraction was the best medicine. Her dad was teaching a beginner's class at the studio, and she figured watching him work might clear her head. Or at least keep her from spiraling into a matchmaking fantasy she wasn't sure she had the right to orchestrate. The studio was buzzing when she arrived. Music pulsing softly, retirees chatting in clusters, laughter bouncing off the mirrored walls. Her dad spotted her and waved, looking every bit the confident instructor in a crisp button-down and polished shoes. Bailey, he called. You're just in time. For what? She asked warily. For class, he said, grinning like a man about to commit a crime. Grab a partner. Bailey blinked. Oh no. No. I came to watch. You came to dance, he corrected, steering her toward the center of the room. Trust me, you'll love it. Bailey opened her mouth to protest, but before she could, a petite woman with silver hair and a mischievous smile tapped her shoulder. You're new, the woman said. I'll take you. Bailey shot her dad a look that said traitor and plastered on a smile. Great. The next 30 minutes were a blur of chaos. Bailey's feet had apparently signed a pact with gravity to sabotage her at every turn. She stepped left when she should have stepped right, spun the wrong way, and at one point, accidentally elbowed her partner in the ribs. I'm so sorry, Bailey gasped, mortified. The woman laughed, waving it off. Honey, if I had $1 for every time someone elbowed me in this class, I'd own this studio. Bailey grinned sheepishly, then tripped over her own foot and nearly collided with a man in suspenders. He winked at her. You're a firecracker. More like a dumpster fire, Bailey muttered, earning a chuckle from her dad across the room. By the time the class ended, Bailey was sweaty, breathless, and convinced she'd invented a new dance style called the flailing flamingo. Her dad clapped her on the shoulder as she gulped water. Not bad, he said, eyes twinkling. Not bad. Bailey laughed. Dad, I was a public safety hazard. You had fun, he said simply. Bailey couldn't argue with that. She had. Later, back at the house, Bailey curled up on the couch with her phone, thumb hovering over her mom's contact. She needed to know, was her mom still holding on to something? Or had Bailey imagined those hints of regret? She typed a casual text. Hey, how's your day? The reply came fast. Terrible. Went on a date with a guy who ordered for me. Like didn't even ask. Just told the waiter what I'd have. Who does that? Bailey winced. Yikes. What did he order? Salad. No dressing. Like I'm training for a fitness competition. Bailey laughed out loud, then hesitated before typing. Sounds like Dad would have let you order whatever you wanted. There was a pause. Longer than usual. Then, your father wouldn't have done that. Bailey stared at the screen, heart thudding. It wasn't much, but it was something. A crack in the armor. A whisper of what might still be there. She set the phone down, mind racing. Maybe she was crazy. Maybe she was meddling. But maybe, just maybe, she could fix this. And if she had to survive a few more dance classes to make it happen, so be it. Chapter 7. Mom's side of the story. Bailey stared at her phone like it was a crystal ball. The text exchange from last night still glowed on the screen. That single line looping in her head. Your father wouldn't have done that. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep her awake half the night, imagining possibilities she wasn't sure she had the right to imagine. By mid-morning, she gave up pretending she wasn't obsessing and hit call. Her mom answered on the second ring, voice brisk. Bailey? Everything okay? Yeah, Bailey said, curling up on the couch. Just wanted to check in. How's your day? Her mom groaned. Don't ask. I'm still recovering from last night's disaster. Bailey smiled faintly. The salad guy? The salad guy, her mom confirmed, dripping sarcasm. He ordered for me like I was a toddler. And then, get this, he asked if I wanted to split the bill because women like independence. Independence, Bailey. I wanted to throw my fork at him. Bailey laughed, though her chest tightened. Sounds rough. Rough is an understatement, her mom muttered. I swear, dating at my age is like shopping at a thrift store. Everything's either broken or missing parts. Bailey hesitated, then said lightly, Dad wouldn't have done that. Silence. Not long, but long enough for Bailey to feel it. Her mom's voice softened. No, he wouldn't have. Bailey swallowed. Do you ever miss him? Another pause. Longer this time. Bailey could hear the faint clink of glass, like her mom was setting down a mug. I miss what we had, her mom said finally. Sometimes. But that doesn't mean it would work now. Bailey's heart thudded. Why not? Her mom sighed, the sound heavy with years. Because people change. And because I was the one who left. I thought I needed more. Freedom. Whatever that means. And now, she trailed off, then laughed bitterly. Now I'm sitting here complaining about men who bring Tupperware to restaurants. Bailey bit her lip. Do you regret it? Her mom didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was quiet. Some days. Bailey closed her eyes, gripping the phone tighter. It wasn't a declaration of love, but it was something. A crack in the wall. Enough to make Bailey's pulse race with an idea that felt equal parts brilliant and insane. After the call, Bailey paced the living room like a woman possessed. She could do this. She could bring them together. Not in a manipulative way, okay, maybe a little manipulative, but in a helpful way. They loved each other. She was sure of it. They just needed a nudge. Or a shove. Or a full-blown strategic operation. She grabbed a notebook from her bag and scribbled at the top of a page. Operation Second Chance. Step 1. Get mom to Florida. Step 2. Make it look casual. Step 3. Pray this doesn't blow up in my face. Bailey tapped her pen against her teeth, grinning despite the nerves fluttering in her stomach. She could pull this off. Probably. Maybe. Her dad's voice floated from the kitchen. Bailey? You hungry? She snapped the notebook shut like it was classified intel. Starving. As she joined him for lunch, Bailey smiled innocently, but inside, her mind was spinning like a disco ball. She had a plan now. A crazy, wonderful, terrifying plan. And if she had to survive a few more dance classes to make it happen, so be it. Chapter 8. The Plan and the Panic. Bailey had never considered herself a mastermind, but as she sat in the corner of Coastal Rhythms with a notebook balanced on her knee, she felt like the villain in a rom-com, minus the evil laugh. Her dad was across the room, demonstrating a waltz to a couple who looked like they'd been married since disco was cool. He was in his element, smiling, confident, alive. And Bailey was about to blow up his peaceful life with a plan that could either end in a family reunion or a spectacular emotional train wreck. She scribbled furiously. Step 1. Convince mom to come to Florida. Step 2. Make it sound like a vacation, not a setup. Step 3. Keep dad clueless until the last possible second. Easy, right? Sure. Except Bailey had never been good at subtlety, or lying, or anything that involved strategy beyond ordering takeout. "Whatcha writing?" a voice chirped. Bailey jumped, nearly launching her pen across the room. She looked up to see Gloria, the silver-haired spitfire from yesterday's class, peering over her shoulder with the curiosity of a cat and the persistence of a tax auditor. Grocery list," Bailey lied, slamming the notebook shut. Gloria's eyes twinkled. "Honey, that didn't look like groceries. That looked like a plot." Bailey forced a laugh. "What? No, definitely not plotting." Gloria plopped down beside her, smelling faintly of lavender and rebellion. "You've got that look. The same look I had when I decided to dye my hair purple and join a salsa team at 72. Bailey blinked. "That's oddly specific." Gloria grinned. "So spill. What's the scheme?" Bailey hesitated, then sighed. Gloria radiated the kind of energy that made secrets feel like currency. "Okay, fine. I'm thinking about getting my parents back together." Gloria's eyebrows shot up like fireworks. "Oh, a reunion. I love it. Tell me everything." Before Bailey could protest, Gloria waved over two more women, Dottie and Irene, who shuffled over like conspirators summoned by the scent of drama. Within seconds, Bailey was surrounded by a trio of retirees who looked like they'd been waiting their whole lives for this kind of entertainment. "Here's the situation," Bailey whispered, glancing at her dad across the room. "They've been divorced for years, but I think they still love each other. I just need to figure out how to make it happen." Gloria clapped her hands. "This is better than cable." Dottie leaned in, eyes sparkling. "You need a hook, something romantic, something that screams destiny. Like a dance showcase," Irene suggested, adjusting her rhinestone earrings. "Your dad's a star on that floor. Invite your mom." Boom, sparks. Bailey's stomach flipped. "That's actually brilliant." Gloria grinned. "We'll help. We're basically professional meddlers." Bailey laughed nervously. "Okay, but this has to be subtle. No one can know." 5 minutes later, Gloria was texting half the class about Operation Lovebirds, and Bailey realized she'd lost control of the narrative. By the time Bailey got home, her phone was buzzing with messages. "Gloria, got the playlist ready for the big night." "Dottie, I'll bring candles. Mood lighting is key." "Irene, should we hire a photographer?" Bailey groaned, flopping onto the couch. This was spiraling fast. She'd wanted a gentle nudge, not a full-blown Broadway production. If her dad found out, he'd kill her. If her mom found out, she'd kill her twice. She stared at the ceiling, heart pounding. This could work. It had to work. Because if it didn't, Bailey wasn't sure how to untangle the mess she was about to make. Chapter 9. The invitation. Bailey stared at her phone like it was a ticking bomb. One text. That's all it would take to set this plan in motion, or blow it up spectacularly. She'd rehearsed the wording in her head a dozen times, trying to make it sound casual, breezy, not like a covert operation to reunite her divorced parents. Finally, she typed, "Hey mom, thinking you could use a little sunshine. Want to come down to Florida for a beach getaway? My treat." She hit send before she could chicken out, then immediately regretted every life choice that led her to this moment. The reply came fast. "Florida? With you?" Bailey exhaled. "Yes, I'm here for a few weeks visiting Dad. Thought you might like a break from salad guys." There was a pause. Then, tempting. "But won't that be awkward?" Bailey's thumbs flew. "Not at all. Dad's chill. We'll just hang out, relax, maybe hit the beach. No pressure." Another pause. Bailey chewed her lip, staring at the screen like she could will the answer into existence. Finally, "You know what? Why not? I could use a vacation." Bailey nearly launched her phone into orbit. "Great. I'll book your flight." She tossed the phone onto the couch and did a silent victory dance, arms flailing, feet stomping, until her dad walked in from the kitchen holding a plate of cookies. "What's with the interpretive dance?" he asked, amused. Bailey froze mid-flail. Cardio?" He raised an eyebrow. "Cardio with jazz hands? Don't judge my methods," Bailey said, snatching a cookie to cover her panic. "So, what's new?" "Not much," he said, settling into his recliner. "Thinking about organizing a showcase at the studio. Big night, lots of dancing. You should come." Bailey nearly choked on her cookie. A showcase, with Mom arriving in 3 days. This was fate or chaos disguised as fate. "That sounds amazing," Bailey said, voice a little too bright. "You should definitely do that." He grinned. "Glad you approve." Bailey smiled back, but inside, her brain was screaming. She had 3 days to make this look casual, keep her dad clueless, and somehow prevent Gloria and her merry band of meddlers from turning this into a televised event. That night, Bailey lay in bed scrolling through texts from Gloria. "Gloria, got the playlist finalized. Lots of romantic numbers." "Dottie, candles ordered. Hope the fire marshal's cool with it." Irene, thinking rose petals. "Too much?" Bailey groaned, burying her face in the pillow. This wasn't a plan anymore. It was a runaway train with glitter on it, and she was the conductor. Chapter 10. Sparks and stumbles. Bailey stood at the arrival's gate, clutching a cardboard sign that read "Welcome to Paradise" in glittery letters. It wasn't her idea. Gloria had insisted, claiming presentation is everything. Bailey had argued that this wasn't a reality dating show, but Gloria had already bought the glitter. Her mom appeared through the sliding doors, wheeling a suitcase and wearing oversized sunglasses like a celebrity avoiding paparazzi. Bailey waved the sign, grinning. "Mom!" She rushed forward, hugging her tight. "You look amazing." Her mom laughed, pulling off the sunglasses. "I look like someone who just spent 3 hours in a middle seat next to a man who ate beef jerky like it was a 5-course meal." Bailey snorted. "Welcome to Florida." They drove along the sunlit coast, Bailey chattering about beaches and seafood, while carefully avoiding the words dance studio or showcase. Her mom seemed relaxed, even excited, until Bailey casually mentioned her dad. "So," Bailey said, aiming for breezy. "Dad's been great. He's thriving." Her mom's eyebrows lifted. "Thriving?" "Yep," Bailey said, gripping the steering wheel like it was a lifeline. "He owns a dance studio now." Silence. Then a laugh, sharp, incredulous. "Your father? Dancing?" Bailey grinned. "Not just dancing. Ballroom. He's really good." Her mom shook her head, smiling despite herself. "Well, that's unexpected." Bailey's pulse raced. Step 1. Plant curiosity. Check. The studio was buzzing when they arrived that evening. Twinkling lights framed the mirrors, candles flickered on tables, and a playlist of romantic classics floated through the air. Gloria and her crew had gone full Broadway. Rose petals, champagne flutes, even a banner that read Coastal Rhythms Showcase Night. Bailey prayed her mom wouldn't notice the suspiciously wedding-like vibe. Her dad was at the center of the room, looking sharp in a tailored vest and polished shoes. When he turned and saw her mom, the world seemed to pause. His smile faltered, then bloomed slow and wide, like sunlight breaking through clouds. "Hi," he said, voice warm but a little shaky. Her mom blinked, then smiled back, soft, hesitant. "Hi." Bailey's heart thudded. Oh, this is happening. The first half of the night was a blur of laughter and music. Bailey hovered like a nervous stage manager, intercepting Gloria's attempts to cue their song and Dottie's suggestion of a spotlight. Her mom chatted with the retirees, sipping champagne, while her dad floated across the floor with partners who looked like they'd been born in dance shoes. Finally, Gloria struck. "Time for the parents of our lovely Bailey to show us how it's done." Bailey nearly swallowed her tongue. "Gloria," but it was too late. All eyes turned to her mom and dad. Her mom laughed nervously, waving a hand. "Oh, I don't." Her dad extended his hand, steady and sure. "One dance," he said softly. "For old time's sake." Bailey held her breath as her mom hesitated, then placed her hand in his. The music swelled. Something slow, romantic, the kind of song that makes you believe in second chances. They moved tentatively at first, her mom stiff, her dad gentle, guiding her with quiet confidence. Then something shifted. Her mom relaxed, her smile softened, and suddenly they were gliding like they'd been doing this forever. Bailey felt her throat tighten. Around them, the room blurred into applause and cheers, but her parents seemed oblivious, lost in a bubble of rhythm and memory. When the song ended, they stood close, breathing hard, eyes locked like the years had melted away. Bailey exhaled slowly. Step 2. Complete. Now all she had to do was survive Step 3, without Gloria ordering a string quartet. Chapter 11. The big dance. The studio pulsed with energy, a swirl of music and laughter under strings of twinkling lights. Bailey stood near the refreshment table, clutching a glass of sparkling water like it was a stress ball. Around her, Gloria and the gang buzzed like caffeinated bees, adjusting candles, fluffing rose petals, and whispering commentary that sounded suspiciously like sports announcers. "Look at that frame," Gloria murmured, watching Bailey's dad lead her mom into another dance. "Textbook perfect." "Her posture's good too," Irene added, squinting like a judge on a reality show. "They've still got chemistry." Bailey groaned. "Can we not narrate my parents like they're on Dancing with the Stars?" Gloria patted her arm. "Sweetheart, this is better than TV." Bailey turned back to the floor and froze. Her parents were dancing again, this time to a sultry rumba that made Bailey want to fan herself. Her dad moved with quiet confidence, guiding her mom through slow, deliberate steps. Her mom's laughter floated across the room, light and surprised, like she'd forgotten how good it felt to be seen. Bailey's throat tightened. She'd imagined this moment 100 times, but seeing them was something else entirely. It wasn't just dancing. It was remembering, rediscovering. Two people who'd walked away from forever, finding their way back one step at a time. The song ended, and the room erupted in applause. Bailey clapped too, blinking back tears she absolutely refused to shed in public. Her dad bowed playfully, her mom curtsied, and for a heartbeat, they looked like the couple in that old photo on his nightstand. Happy, whole, and completely unaware of the chaos Bailey had orchestrated to get them here. The rest of the night blurred into snapshots. Her mom laughing with Gloria over champagne, her dad teaching Bailey a basic foxtrot, She still managed to trip over her own foot, and the retirees gossiping like high schoolers at prom. Bailey floated through it all, equal parts relieved and terrified. This was working, maybe too well. What if they kissed? What if they didn't? What if Gloria hired a mariachi band? By the time the last song faded and the candles burned low, Bailey found her parents standing near the door, talking quietly. She couldn't hear the words, but she saw the way her mom touched his arm, the way his eyes softened when he looked at her. It was subtle, but it was there. A spark, glowing steady beneath the ashes. Bailey smiled, heart swelling with something that felt suspiciously like hope. Later, as she curled up in bed, her phone buzzed with a text from Gloria. Gloria, Operation Lovebirds equals success. You're welcome. Bailey laughed, typing back. Bailey, it's not over yet, because it wasn't. Tonight was magic, but magic needed momentum. And Bailey was ready to make sure the story didn't end on a dance floor. Chapter 12. Conversations and Confessions. The house was quiet when Bailey slipped inside, the soft hum of the ceiling fan the only sound. The showcase had ended hours ago, but the glow lingered. Music, laughter. The image of her parents moving together like they'd never stopped. Bailey kicked off her heels and padded toward the kitchen, craving water and maybe a reality check. Voices drifted from the back porch. She froze. Her parents were out there, silhouetted against the moonlight, sitting side by side on the wicker love seat. Bailey edged closer, heart thudding, and peeked through the screen door. They weren't touching, but the space between them felt charged, like the air before a summer storm. Her mom spoke first, voice low. You've gotten good. Her dad chuckled softly. Took a few years, and a lot of bruised toes. Her mom smiled faintly. I never pictured you dancing. I never pictured me divorced, he said, tone gentle but edged with truth. Bailey's breath caught. Her mom looked down at her hands. I thought I needed more. Freedom. Something bigger than us. And did you find it? His voice wasn't accusing, just curious, quiet. Her mom's laugh was brittle. If by more you mean bad dates and men who bring Tupperware to restaurants, then yes, I found plenty. He smiled sadly. I missed you. Her mom's head lifted, eyes shining in the dim light. I missed you too. Bailey pressed a hand to her mouth, tears stinging her eyes. She shouldn't be listening, but she couldn't move. Not when the words she'd been hoping for were finally spilling into the night. Her dad reached over, covering her mom's hand with his. I never stopped loving you, he said softly. Not for a second. Her mom's breath hitched. I don't know if we can go back. Maybe not, he said. But maybe we can go forward. Silence stretched, tender and fragile. Then her mom nodded, just once, and Bailey felt something inside her crack open. A rush of relief, joy, and something deeper she couldn't name. Later, in her room, Bailey curled up on the bed, staring at the ceiling with a smile that wouldn't quit, and for the first time realized she had tears on her cheeks. She'd come here to reconnect with her dad. She hadn't expected to witness a love story resurrecting itself under a Florida moon. Maybe love wasn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. Maybe it was about second chances and the courage to take them. Bailey wiped her eyes, laughing softly. Tomorrow she'd play it cool. Pretend she hadn't overheard a conversation that could melt steel. But tonight, she let herself believe in something she hadn't believed in for a long time. Forever wasn't over. Not yet. Chapter 13. New Beginnings. Bailey woke to the sound of gulls and the scent of coffee drifting through the house. For the first time in weeks, maybe years, her chest felt light. She stretched, smiling at the memory of last night. Her parents on the porch, voices low and tender, hands entwined like they'd never let go. She padded into the kitchen to find her dad flipping pancakes like a man auditioning for a cooking show. Her mom sat at the table, hair tousled, wearing one of Bailey's oversized t-shirts and laughing at something he'd said. The sight hit Bailey like a warm wave, simple, ordinary, and absolutely extraordinary. Morning, Bailey said, grabbing a mug. Her dad grinned. Morning, champ. Hungry. Starving, Bailey said, sliding into a chair. What's the occasion? No occasion, he said, plating a stack of pancakes. Just, feels like a good day. Her mom smiled softly. It does. Bailey bit back a grin so wide it could power a small city. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. The air between them was different now, lighter, warmer, threaded with something that felt like hope. Later that afternoon, Bailey found herself back at the studio, standing in front of the mirror with a look of grim determination. Her dad leaned against the wall, arms crossed, smirking. You sure about this? He asked. No, Bailey said, adjusting the strap on her shoe. But if I'm going to meddle in people's love lives, I should at least learn to dance without causing bodily harm. He chuckled. Fair enough. Gloria appeared out of nowhere, clapping her hands like a drill sergeant. All right, sweetheart. Today we conquer the foxtrot. And maybe your fear of rhythm. Bailey groaned. This is going to be a disaster. Disaster with style, Gloria said, winking. The next hour was a blur of missteps, laughter, and Bailey nearly taking out a potted plant during an over-enthusiastic spin. Her dad laughed so hard he had to sit down, and even Bailey couldn't stop giggling as she stumbled through the steps. Progress, Gloria declared at the end, patting Bailey's shoulder. You only elbowed me once. Personal best, Bailey said, grinning. That evening, Bailey walked along the beach with her parents, the sky painted in streaks of pink and gold. Her mom's hand brushed her dad's, and this time, he didn't hesitate. He took it. Bailey pretended to look at the waves, but her heart soared. She thought about everything that had happened. The impulsive trip, the glitter-fueled showcase, the whispered confessions under moonlight. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't guaranteed. But it was something real, something worth fighting for. Bailey smiled, letting the ocean breeze tangle her hair. Love wasn't about flawless timing or grand gestures. It was about second chances and the courage to take them. And maybe, just maybe, learning to dance along the way.